All right, so good morning, Royals fans, on this blustery February morning here on February 25th, 2019. Spring training is underway. As the video I made really quick yesterday. So the Royals actually, they won their second game. I didn't see the final score until I got home from going out to dinner with my buddies. So the Royals won their game yesterday against Oakland 14-5. Offense, again, the big story. Pitching was pretty decent for the most part, even though they're giving up 5 runs. One of the things I'm going to talk about here just real quick, we're not going to get into a lot of the offensive numbers. A lot of the guys that played yesterday were players who are not going to have a whole lot of impact, but still it is nice to see the bats really come alive during the game. So they've scored 9 runs and 14 runs, so they've scored 23 runs in 2 games. So that's, a lot of people, they'll say, don't pay attention to spring training numbers, but they say it both ways. They say it as don't pay attention to spring training numbers if they're bad, because, they're just working on stuff. But if they're really good numbers, they say, well, you can't get too excited because it's just spring training. So, both of those things get said, usually by the same people. So, there's not a lot of taken away, obviously, but it's always better, obviously, to do well in spring training than to not. So, but I'm going to talk about one player here real quick, and that was yesterday's starting pitcher for the Royals, Sam McWilliams. This is a guy that the Royals picked up in the Rule 5 draft. He was one of 2 players they picked up. The other, I believe, was Chris Ellis? I believe was the other one. I think Ellis is going to have a harder time making the team. I think they're probably, if they want to keep him, they're going to probably have to either make a trade or give him back. I don't remember where he came from, but the Royals, I'm not sure, especially with the some of the veteran bullpen arms that they've signed that have had a lot of success in the past. I think Ellis is going to, I think he's going to might be the odd man out to make the roster. But anyway, so let's talk about McWilliams. So he pitched I think he pitched 2 innings. It may have been like 2 1/3. He did give up 3 runs. He was very sharp in the first inning, but he wasn't that great in the second. Looked like he kind of lost command, and but it looked like more of a confidence thing from the reports I was reading. And of course, I'm not watching the game, but from everything I'm seeing is that McWilliams is a guy that he's every bit of 6'7" is what he's listed on the metrics. I mean, he is a tall left-handed pitcher who throws hard. And the one thing that I have noticed, and then from watching a few clips here and there, McWilliams is a guy that has a big fastball. His fastball is major league ready. The problem is that if you're going to pitch at the major league level, you can at AAA, you can get guys out with a fastball, which is overpowering stuff. You're going to have to start working on your secondary pitches somewhat. The major league level, at the very minimum, you need 2 pitches. I've always said, I never played baseball at an extremely high level, but I've followed the game for a very long time. I know about this game. To really be successful, you really only need 2 pitches. You need a fastball and you need a changeup. And you don't even need a breaking ball, because there's so many different things that you can even do with your changeup. And you can throw several different fastballs. You can throw a 4-seamer, 2-seamer, you can throw a cutter, you can throw sinkers, split fingers. A split finger fastball really could be almost used as a breaking pitch because of the extreme break that it gives. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. So what McWilliams has, he's got a fastball and it's major league ready, but his secondary pitches are not up to snuff. At least to the point where he can be a successful starter. And if you remember last year when the Royals picked up Brad Keller in the Rule 5 draft, Brad Keller started the year in the bullpen. Of course, they would never get a Rule 5 guy just handing the reins, not on opening day, but give him even the number 5 slot in the pitching and on the pitching staff. But one of the things that Keller did was that he developed his secondary pitches to be effective major league pitches while working in the bullpen, working on side sessions. And I think that's what McWilliams needs to do as well. I think the Royals will probably end up doing that because they've already got their starting rotation pretty much nailed down. You know, there's Duffy and Keller and Junis, Kennedy. And then the fifth spot's going to, in my opinion, is going to be kind of a mix-up between, is it going to be Lopez or is it going to be Philmeyer? So McWilliams really isn't going to, I don't think he's going to command a look at that number 5 slot unless he just blows people away in spring. So obviously he didn't have a great start to that yesterday, but there's a lot of promise here, mainly because the guy he comes out of a different arm slot, you know, from the left side with his big frame. You guys remember, like Chris Young, when Chris Young pitched the Royals, the common thing was that he never pitched, his fastball was never more than 87, 88 miles an hour, but because of his delivery, he was extreme over-the-top delivery, not even 3/4, and from where he released the ball, and he was so tall, you look at it from how fast the ball gets on you and where he's releasing it, his release point is closer to the plate than the average pitcher. And so from a reaction time, his 88-mile-per-hour fastball was actually, from a reaction time, I'm not talking about actual speed, I'm talking about from a reaction time of the batter, it would make it seem like it would be about like a 95 to 96-mile-per-hour fastball, judging on the same amount of reaction time. Now, we're talking about split seconds here. We're not talking about, you know, obviously a 2 or 3 second delay here, obviously. This is just from the pitching rubber to home plate. So, but that is an effective way, and it's an effective thing to talk about, and it was one of the reasons why Chris Young was able to be successful, and because it wasn't just that 1 year with the Royals that he had success. I mean, the year prior to that with Seattle, he was the American League Comeback Player of the Year. So Chris Young has had a track record of being a successful pitcher, and so with McWilliams throwing from the left side, now he's not as tall as Chris Young, but still he's a big body kid, left-handed, which is very important. And this is a guy who is absolutely going to come in, and it's going to be a different look than most hitters are used to facing. And you know, if he can throw, if he can throw in the mid to upper 90s from that left side, and also as tall as he is. Look, I'm not going to make comparisons to Randy Johnson, but that is the natural comparison to make for big, tall, left-handed pitchers. The thing with Johnson came out almost of a sidearm delivery. He was just so hard to hit because of where he released the ball and where the arm slot, the arm angle. McWilliams is there from commanding the fastball point, and I'm really excited to see what that brings for the Royals this year. I think this is a guy who is going to. I'm not going to make predictions of what I think he's going to be at the end of the year, because I wouldn't have guessed Brad Keller would have been in the starting rotation last year at this point, let alone be the Royals pitcher of the year. But it wasn't a fluke. I mean, Brad Keller was very, very good with his pitches, and he has 3+ pitches now. So anyway, what I would like to see from McWilliams is, you know, working out of the bullpen, working on the secondary pitches, working on that curveball, working on his changeup, and I think that's all he really needs to do at this point. I mean, all lefties have a natural curveball anyway, just by the virtue of how they release the ball. It's weird. I've never been able to understand it, but he's an exciting piece for me, you know, to watch. You know, most teams don't hit on Rule 5 guys that often, and I'm excited to see what happens with this guy. I'm not going to predict the same sort of success that they had with Brad Keller, because Brad Keller legitimately, in my opinion, should have won Rookie of the Year last year. But that guy from Anaheim, just the Japanese player or Korean player, I can't remember where he's from, but the guy who played both ways. He was a pitcher and a hitter. but he was hurt half the season. So regardless, he is a phenomenal athlete, and he's a phenomenal prospect, obviously. I would love to have him on the Royals. So anyway, yes, I'm kind of rambling at this point. Sam McWilliams, I'm really excited to see what he does out of the bullpen. I do think that he needs to work on his secondary pitches, and that way he can be very effective at getting guys out. But while he's working on the secondary pitches, he can come in, for an inning or maybe even two, and go max effort, and maybe tick up the fastball just a little bit, and be a guy who could bridge it to Soren, or bridge it to Boxberger, or Peralta, or Dykeman. So the Royals are slowly getting some pieces in their bullpen that I think makes them a lot more legitimate. Of course, I always thought that about Brandon Maurer too, and look what happened to him the last couple of years with the Royals. So sometimes guys just don't work out, but we'll see what happens with all these moves. I'll have to look at the schedule. I think the Royals have another game today. I would imagine so, and we'll see. And also, we'll see what's going on with the Bryce Harper deal. I mean, Bryce Harper still has not signed. I mean, obviously, the rumors are that he's going to be signing with the Phillies. We'll see. I saw a notification come across my phone this morning that the Dodgers were back in play for him. So I think this is almost ridiculous at this point, in my opinion, and I'm not ridiculous the way you probably think I'm going with it. This guy has turned down multiple offers for over $300 million. What? I don't understand that. But whatever. I mean, I guess get what you can get. So now Bryce Harper is an amazing talent, but he's never been able to lead a team, to a deep postseason run. Obviously, the Nationals have made the postseason multiple times, but they just have never been able to get out of that first round. I think they may have made the National League Championship Series once. I'll have to go back and look, but it seems like they always jump on the ALDS really fast, and then lose in Game 5. I know they've done that several times. So anyway, just a quick video here. I'll be back maybe the next couple days. We'll take a look at some more. We'll break down maybe some of the offensive players, and see with some of the fringe guys what they're doing. Guys like Frank Swindell. See if the guys like this actually have any legitimate shot to make the roster. I think they don't, and we'll go from there. So I'm excited about this season. I think the Royals are going to surprise some people, and I don't think this is going to be a team that finishes under 500. I really don't. Obviously, I'm going to give my official prediction the last week of March, once we kind of see spring kind of fall through. I said yesterday that my unofficial prediction at this point was that they're going to finish at like 83 and 79. I'm gonna. That's kind of where I'm thinking right now. That's kind of my baseline at this point, which seems bizarre for a team that lost 104 games last year. That's where I would start with my baseline. But this is not the same team as it was last year, and I'm really excited to see what Mondesi does. I think Mondesi is a legitimate American League MVP player. If the Royals win, and this is a guy. We haven't had a 20-20-20 guy in baseball since George Brett in 1979. And so if you're not familiar with what that is, it's 20 doubles, 20 triples, 20 home runs. Mondesi is a legitimate player, has a legitimate shot to make that, to be one of those 20-20-20 guys. Now, it's more kind of a fluky thing than anything else. I mean, well, not fluky. It's kind of like hitting for the cycle. Would you rather hit 4 home runs in a game, or would you rather hit for the cycle? You'd rather hit 4 home runs in a game. The cycle is kind of a quirky thing as well. So 20-20-20 obviously is a quirky kind of a deal, but still, it shows the all-around prowess of a player, and who's able to hit for power, but also has a lot of speed. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later.